just once from both of these teams, actually between both Stage 1 and Stage 2, and both of them happened very recently. The Wichita Wolves, they lost here to Parabellum in OT 8-6, and it was also a loss for Okami 8-7 just last week to Slaughterhouse. So this one could be rather interesting here, but like our wonderful analyst Des said, this one could be a little bit one-sided. The Wichita Wolves, they like this map, at least based on, what they've banned, or in this case, haven't banned week after week. What we've seen from them in community leagues as well. When they were known as Ape, they tore up community league circuits with this map. They have had very impressive cocktail executes. That's something I always like to focus on, but all of that's going to depend on exactly what kind of operators we're going to take out of play here.
And first are Iana and Thatcher. So Thatcher, obviously, common ban pretty much everywhere. We don't really need to go into that. But Iana, as a counter ban, looking like targeting Subarctic. Subarctic is extremely affluent on that operator. He is a wonderful Iana player. He was one of the highest rated players in this stage so far as a second entry. So that means Subarctic is going to have to flex onto something else. And I'm not actually sure what else he's going to be comfortable on, because in Stage 1, he played Flank Watch, and I don't believe he's played literally anything else on the attack this stage, except for Iana, but it looks like the operator he's going to be flexing onto is the Ashe.
Yeah, this will be interesting because we haven't seen too much Ashe as of late. We'll talk a lot about the Zofia as well today because, of course, between these last play days, we've had a little bit of an update, and the recoil on Zofia's gun here has been a little bit messed around with. You've got some more horizontal recoil made a little bit tougher to control, and, Ashe in the R4C already had some of those recoil changes, but maybe we'll see her come around a little bit more, considering that the reliance on Zofia could change, but unlikely so. Because especially when you're headed down here to kitchen and vertical play is a core component of any attack, you want to bring as much soft destruction as possible. And you take a look at this Okami attacking lineup, and you've got quite a bit of that very potential. Not only do you have prompted on your Zofia, you've got Exile bringing out the breaching hammer on that sledge and those frag grenades, and of course, Subarctic on the Ashe. As far as the Wichita Wolves and this defensive setup goes, this is a pretty standard hold from them. You've got your Mute and your Mozzie combination. This roam that the Wolves love to bring out involves so much of this information denial, and I think we're going to see them extend that control onto that second floor for at least a good bit of time.
Yeah, and of course I also would not be surprised, and yep, they do. The Zofia and the Ashe both have breaching charges. So even if Exile goes down early, or if he needs some extra help, there's still plenty of tools at the attacker's disposal to get some proper vert play. Forrest playing under the skylight. Not sure if he just got spotted by the, I heard a drone. I'm not quite sure if it spotted him. They're actually able to get past the pest, interestingly enough, and a little bit of a whiff of the placement there. I'm also interested to see what weapon Subarctic is bringing, because of course he is the Iana main, and he has been playing pretty much exclusively the G36, so whether or not he's bringing that or the R4C. And Prompted is of course wielding the LMG. He's been on the M762 this entire season, just like Penguin, but we started to see some entries actually switch to it, like we've seen Melted actually pretty consistently bring the LMG. I also like that little hole to get past the pest. They will spot Forrest. Forrest will, as such, drop down. A C4 will be used by Melted to cover their retreat. It will not hit anybody, but it keeps these defenders safe, as now 3 of them work to hold on to the middle floor.
I really like what Okami is doing here. They're mounting pressure from all of these different rotation spots that they know the Wichita Wolves are going to want to retreat back to the site using, and, well, they've made quick work of this roam as a result. Well, quick work, 90 seconds, somewhere in the middle in terms of overall round progression, but they've taken control. They haven't lost a single player, and now they can begin their top-down pressure. This is a pretty good point for them to be, but now it really comes down to how to shift the now vertical control they hold into an actual on-site execute. And that is, of course, easier said than done because you haven't forced everyone back to the site itself. The Wolves, they are still positioned all over this first floor. So when you eventually make that shift, you've got to worry about VIP. You've got to worry about that crossfire that's going to be held most likely onto this freezer drop that you're going to try to get underway soon. Exile looking to shake it up here with a good nade. Jay getting taken down to about 1 HP for his troubles, and that nice nade is going to spur things along for Okami, but unfortunately for both teams, no entry pick has been found just yet. Okami still searching for something here using the vertical, but with under 30 seconds to go, a trade is the first thing to kick us off.
It's taken a very long time for Okami to actually work their way downstairs. Rafi's going to start to plant, but it's thwarted immediately by callout. A C4 over the whiskey wall. It's 3 versus 4 now, a man disadvantage for Okami as the gas canisters come into play. VIP is not cleared, meaning Melted is going to shoot Prompted in the back. It leaves just Exile and Subarctic. Another plant attempt is going to come in from Exile, but Subarctic is in no position to cover, but Exile still gets his own kill. Subarctic finds 2, but here's the flank through Freezer, perfectly timed by the final Wichita Wolves player. Okami are nearly able to crawl their way back thanks to Sub and Exile, but alas, it is not to be. Sub, coming down by the red stairs, was in no position to help Exile. They were each fighting their own picks, and that last defender was able to snake his way through.
Great play from Subarctic, though. I mean, that nearly was the reason it looked like they were about to win that round. But of course, thankfully, you still had Melted in play. You still had a slight little flank opportunity, and that is the beauty of holding VIP and locking down Freezer. You need to take control, or at the very least, hold off that VIP player, or dropping down into Freezer and getting a plant down on really any side of the site exposed to that freezer box, you are going to be in a lot of trouble, and that's exactly what Okami discovered there. Overall, as far as that round went, I think Okami did a great job, like I said, with 90 seconds gone, making really good progress, taking control of the map. But what happened was they just couldn't make enough progress on the vertical play. They couldn't find those kills to really allow them to get an easier attack onto that first floor. Because an attack like that, reliant fully on the vertical play, it depends heavily on your ability to get 1 kill or ideally 2 kills on that vertical. You have a couple of nades. We saw it nearly take out Jay, but just think, had that nade finished off Jay, had maybe a couple of those holes just bore a little bit more fruit than they actually did, that could have easily gone Okami's way, because by the time they fully sent it into that first floor, they would have had so much fewer bullets headed their direction and could have had a lot easier time doing so. So already, Okami not looking to take their time at all. They're looking to rush, and they're looking to get this one going, but already it's not paying off. Callout and Jay finding 2 kills between them. Subarctic thankfully getting that trade, but a quick rush attempt has already been stalled out.
It looked like almost the entirety of Okami were just hell-bent on walking up white. Unfortunately, Rafi couldn't finish his player off of reading. I mean, at the very least, the person you trade out is Callout, which is a huge bit of intel that's no longer going to be available to the defense, but you lose your hard breacher and you lose your sledge. So if you were to, rethink about your choices and maybe switch up the push, if they went for upstairs, they're surely not going to be able to use as much of it as they would like. But they are just going to try for this horizontal. It will net them the equalizer as Wav takes out Abanai. Prompted is also still outside on Snowbog, but the thing that I really want to pay attention to is the fact that the diffuser is stuck in the middle of 90. Prompted will use a cheeky little drone hold to light Forest up to about half HP, but that's about it. Now, the one thing that Okami do have going for them, though, even though they don't have case control, is the time. It's a 3v3, and they've still got half the round to play with.
Yeah, really turning this one around in what looked like it could have been a total disaster from the get-go. But they still have a lot of work to do, and they have to recover this diffuser. Because after a rush attempt like that, leaving the diffuser in hands of those on-site players, well, that's going to get you a little bit of trouble. Thankfully, Prompted drops down, gets one. Subarctic cleans up the second, says goodbye to Forest, because the Wichita Wolves, they seemed a bit over-eager to hold that top floor, despite the time in the round and despite what had already transpired. Jay will swing around and get one, but a quick trade will be found by the Nomad holding the white stairs, and that's going to be a good round from Okami, recovering some early shenanigans, but making it happen in the end and equalizing the score at 1-1.
I really like the call from Okami. So at the beginning, the white rush, maybe didn't go as planned, but what did that do? it scattered the Wolves. They can no longer play as a pack, if we want to say that. That left one person on the top floor, one person in reading, that was Jay, and one person left holding down kind of, mid-white over towards the dining wall. In that 3v3, Okami were extremely separated, prompted on Skylight, sub pushing down by pallets, and Wav, who was just kind of chilling in train. As sub starts to push down white, that's when Prompted hits his vault key. Even if Prompted gets taken out, Subarctic is still there for the trade. So, and that person who was playing by dining had backed up white after the Aruni died upstairs. Aruni had no help because of that earlier scatter. Because Aruni has no help, the player playing by white stairs has to push up. Subarctic is already down pallets. He gets a very easy kill. And during that entire scuffle, Wav takes the opportunity to crouch walk his way into the site. So in the end, it really didn't even matter that Okami didn't have case control because they were able to isolate those 1v1s thanks to the earlier rush in the round that Wichita Wolves was never able to regroup from.
Yeah, and the Wolves aren't going to try that again. They're not going to go to the same bomb site. They are going to quickly make their way upstairs to Bar and Cocktail and look to remedy that very, well, we'll call it scrambling around the site that you just described, Harrison. But we'll see how Okami want to approach this one. Maybe it's, again, some early aggression. They saw how that worked last time. It caught the Wolves off guard. Maybe they can work with that again. But right now, they will do their due diligence and just clear out from above, figure out what hold they are dealing with. As you can see by these pings here, they've identified the plethora of utility over here in piano, freezer, and bathroom. The Vulcan shields, the just regular deployable shields that Jay is bringing into the mix. All of this utility combined with the ADSs, those Wamai magnets, you've got so much of this projectile denial, and Prompted is already getting underway in removing that. That's also going to be Subarctic's job, because if he can sneak this Rotero drone in before it is shot out, that is going to be a great way to take care of that shield, and look at that. That is a job well done, circumventing a lot of that projectile denial, sneaking a drone into the mix, and taking care of another Vulcan shield.
I like the way Okami are playing it with not only the Rotero drones, but also following up with normal drones, scoping out and making sure that the next Rotero's path is clear. Now, unfortunately for Subarctic, the one by the second freezer shield will get caught. And earlier when we were watching Prompted, he wasn't able to get his way through that anti-projectile utility to clear the pixel shield, but I guess it doesn't really matter as they're able to take that control anyway. Subarctic will try once again. Actually, it's going to be to flush out this inner freezer player. Is that going to force him out? No, he's just going to sit there. We're going to see a Rotero drone kill from Sub onto Melted, and Prompted is allowed to walk all the way up towards Freezer and take an important line of sight, but he pushes up a little bit too far with no support. Jay is allowed to get the free pick back and the equalizer in the round. Now about 55 seconds left. Gas canisters come out from Jay. Subarctic trying to pressure over towards Palace will fall to Forest. And now the man advantage goes the way of the Wolves in the defense. Forest unable to be refragged yet by Raffi. He's got help from White, but in the meantime, Abonai has been down. Exile will grab a second on to call out, and Forest is finished off. The sledge is going huge. It leaves it all up to Jay. Just 1 HP. He's stuck in C1, and there's still 3 attackers for him to find. And Abonai is likely irrecoverable with the position he's in and the open holes right across that freezer wall. He'll get pings onto one. Raffi will nearly start this plant attempt, instead thinking better of it, and there's the flank watch from Wav, sitting and biding his time on Heaven. Excellently played round by Okami.
Yeah, that was pretty textbook as far as, a piano clear goes, but what was more impressive, you highlighted during the round, was the use of those Flores drones. The Rotero drones were so vital in that round, not only, as we saw, in clearing out that utility, but actually getting a kill as well, forcing out that deep freezer player, or just telling that deep freezer player, hey, if you're not going to tuck tail and run, you've got 2 options. Die by bullets or die by a drone at your feet. And, well, we all know how that went. But that clear was great. They got themselves up into freezer very quickly. Yes, that didn't work out for all of them, but they had coverage down the White Hall. They had people in piano playing on all that soft destruction that actually the Wichita Wolves did for them, and they just made sure to cover all of their bases. The Wolves had the man advantage in those closing seconds, but a couple of, you could call it over-aggressive gunfights, some eager gunplay from the Wolves got them punished a little bit. Okami was ready for that. They dealt with it accordingly, and, well, they'll take the round as a result.
Yeah, the utility play from Okami was definitely something to highlight, and it's something that they've struggled with throughout the season. It's been really the identity of Okami in the early round. Who's going to be their primary fragger? Are they going to do their job? Because sometimes, that's what the rounds for Okami hedge upon, whether or not they're able to get those entry picks. And sometimes their utility play and their clearing isn't always the best either. But sticking Subarctic on that Flores, not only droning out the path for the Flores, having the Flores follow up, and then droning it out again. There was intel abound for Okami after the good utility play. It all came together in the end. And I think that's also... is that the first Rotero drone kill that we've seen in CL?
First one I've seen, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't even know if we've seen that in Pro League. That was well played. And Wichita Wolves, though, they are going to go back to the site, the only one that they're successful onto Kitchen, where, Okami really, really struggled with their time management, but still almost recovered.
5 seconds remaining.
Yeah, I wonder what the Wolves are going to do differently here. Of course, they've got that timeout to talk about what went wrong on maybe that exact bomb site, but they're back to a site that they won, but not as comfortably as they would have liked. I'm interested if they're going to maybe commit a bit more to that roam, or if they're going to feel a bit more comfortable backing off early, because we saw how quickly Okami was able to envelop that second floor and lock off most of those rotation spots. And if Okami clean up this again, like we've seen in these last 2 rounds, they could be even quicker, and the Wolves could be even in more precarious positions. For now, only 40 seconds in, Okami are still trying to figure out exactly what they're dealing with, at least on this top floor, where they'd like to begin this entry. You do have some players up there. Call Out is one of them. Going to be holding down that cocktail side, but will likely be quick to rotate down the white stairs and join his teammates down in reading and in dining. Melted and Call Out will assume that position. Forest joining them, this 3-man hold. But as you can see, they're definitely a little bit antsy, and I think they're not going to be afraid to back on off when challenged. But Wab, the first player to walk in, right now is pretty isolated and alone. They need to be careful about not separating and taking these 1v1s, because Forest will win those every time. At least he'll win the first one. Wab successfully getting the trade.
Exile hitting the crouch walk through the rotate, that's a fight that you're really never going to be in the advantage of if someone's already looking at the angle. But like you said, at least they're able to get the trade. The big negative right now is that Okami do not have their sledge. And we saw how much they struggled when he was still up. Now they're not going to have him. They only have those breaching charges. So not only is it going to be even less efficient when it comes to how much you can do, but it's going to be slower. And if Okami wanted to amend their time management issues, this was certainly not the way to do it. Hopefully they're still able to recover. They have knocked 1 C4 off the board in Forest, but Call Out and Melted still have them in their pockets. We've still got 3 gas canisters from Jay. We saw how well the anti-plant came into the round as well from Wichita Wolves. The smoke denying a lot of those avenues of attack, and the C4 even denying that initial plant attempt from Raffi.
We'll still have some of that utility, of course. Still 2 nitro cells in pocket, so not out of the question that they can play a similar plant denial focused defense, but of course that is something that Okami and the vertical pressure from Subarctic are looking to change. Subarctic will assume an angle towards this main double door, trying to lock out Call Out from Whiskey, but instead it is Call Out who finds the kill onto Wav. Raffi now been down, a really good toxic smoke from Jay, doing good work onto the Habana, leaving Prompted and Subarctic alone to fend for themselves against 4. You've got 1 player creeping now into the objective. Subarctic once again creeping around the red stairs. Looks like Prompted. Good element of surprise is going to pay off, but now turning their back to everyone and getting absolutely taken down. Looks like that one finished off with Abunai getting a knife kill and a Toxic Babe to finish off the down player. An interesting turn of events in the last few seconds, but it looked like the Wolves were going to take it the entire time, and this time they closed it out with a lot more ferocity.
And again, we have Okami with a little bit of time management issues, and as well, the vert play not really working out. They didn't find a single kill through the floors, a common theme throughout both kitchen attacks, because the way Wichita Wolves are playing it, they can't really be affected by the floor holes. You have 1 player VIP, one in coat check, one whiskey bar. Those guys are completely immune to any kind of vert play you try to establish. And Jay is just sitting by the freezer window, which you also is a little bit difficult to affect with vertical, at least the way that Okami was playing it. So not only do they not get any picks, but the freezer drop has been an absolute death trap. They don't have control of whiskey at all. Jay is not being pressured at all. Raffi tries to go for the plant attempt, and he just gets smoked out, and he knows that there's really no path of escape. And while Prompted is left all alone to hold freezer, Subarctic is coming down red. Those two last attackers are completely separated, and Okami are forced to fan out, and of course, it has not worked in either attempt of that site. I guess the good news now for Okami is that that site is locked for the rest of the half, and now we have to go back to sites that Wichita Wolves have not been successful on just yet. But there's a completely new one, actually.
Yeah,
it's mining.
This will be interesting, because this is something we see from the Wolves pretty regularly. If one of their pretty default sites isn't working, they won't be afraid to pull out mining. This is something we've seen from them quite frequently. Question is, how are Okami going to approach it? This is a site that you don't have a ton of practice attacking, and you know, part of the way the site is designed, but also part of the inexperience of many attacking teams on this objective, this can turn into all-out rush attempts towards mining occasionally. You just have, I mean, you have a window that leads you right into the room. A lot of people will just sit out on that AC balcony and just kind of dance around that window for the entire round. But instead, it will go down pretty default take for now. The top floor is going to be the focus for both the attack and the defense. You've got Jay holding down Cocktail with those toxic smokes, and you've got everyone else on Okami trying to force him out. Wichita Wolves, they've got to be careful here because you don't want to lose this top floor player too early, but Forrest, while losing that top player, will find a kill onto Prompted to equalize.
So at least it's 1-for-1, and losing your primary entry is definitely not as horrible as losing someone like the Sledge, someone like Wav or Raffi early on. And now Okami, I'm pretty sure that they know that the site is in mining, but there's still people in reading that you gotta flush out. Specifically, I believe that is Abinai the Jaeger, if I'm looking at the silhouette correctly. They have pings, but they don't know he's pushed out. He will catch Wav unaware. The man advantage now swinging into the favor of the defense, but once again, Subarctic will quickly equalize. He is doing wonderfully on this entry roll on the Ash. Abinai will come back up to the site to rejoin his team, and some missed shots from, I believe, Raffi mean that Wichita Wolves are still sitting pretty. They've got a guy holding inside of dining, and Okami really aren't any closer to pushing into the site. They still have to flush out this player. There's still cross angles being held by this defense, and if Okami just tries to walk right in, they should logically be crushed.
Well, looks like a little bit of detour is going to be taken by Subarctic, worrying about Forrest there over on the red stairs. Raffi doesn't seem to mind, taking Abunai's life and now securing control of the objective. Thankfully, for at least the Wolves, you still have Forrest in play, and you will be still fragging out as a result. He'll win that skirmish over on the red stairs, but he needs to get back to this objective because Raffi is getting this bomb down, and there is nobody in place to stop him. Exile doing God's work on the coverage, preventing Melted from getting aggressive up the white stairs, but Raffi doing it himself over on the side of Forrest. That's going to leave the mute against Exile first, and that one is, well, not going to go his way initially. Exile, good pre-fire, and he will finish it off. Okami adapt to an unusual objective, and they will pull it out as well. The Wolves struggling to find a solid defensive home other than that kitchen site.
Yeah, I was a little bit worried there. It seemed like Okami's timing issues might have reared its head after they entered into reading, especially in losing Wav. And like I said, those cross angles were dastardly from the defense. But what does it take? It takes a single flashbang to completely expose that Jaeger. I believe that was Melted on the mute, was forced down the white stairs. That leaves Abinai alone with no coverage. Raffi is able to pick him off. Sure, Forrest gets one by red stairs, but knowing that Raffi is watching the angle and Forrest being so low on HP means he cannot re-engage. He is forced to rotate away. That leaves just Melted on white stairs. Exile is covering the one angle that the defenders can push his teammate from, and because there are no holes in dining at all, really, I'm actually kind of surprised by that. There was no reconstruction work done on that entire bomb site. Raffi's able to get the plant down because of that cover. And that was just a well-played post-plant by the remaining 2 members of Okami. And now they will regain their 1-point advantage. And on a map like Kafe, sure, we do see it go 3-3. You know, that's not strange. I still feel like it's a defensive-sided half. If you're going down any less than 3-3 on your defense, you're going to be in pretty dire straits heading into your second half.
And we've seen the Wolves on attack here. We know they have what it takes, but we've also seen them on defense, and they've looked a lot stronger than this in the past. Seems that Okami may have their number right now, or whatever formula they're bringing to the table seems to be working just fine. Now, because things have gotten a bit dicey, especially on this top floor site, they are going to change up their strategy a bit. They're going to do away with the Vulcan shields and the Goyo entirely, and instead, Forest is going to be pulling out the castle. That's going to lend itself to this very cigar-focused hold, and that's why we're going to see call out here in the cigar box or the humidor. He's going to be focused on the red stairs. If anyone drops down, he has a shotgun to greet them. This is something we've seen pretty common from Prod, I think, is one who does this one pretty regularly, this particular cigar hold, and that's exactly what those castle barricades are for. Okami, once they deal with this, well, at least once they realize this, they can start to pressure on into Piano, because that is one weakness of this hold. If you're not going to put anyone in Piano, you can establish a pretty good crossfire, and there it is. Prompted, taking the head of call out rather expeditiously. Abunai successfully getting a trade elsewhere. That one onto the Ash of Subarctic, but right now, good progress made from Okami, keeping this one in a 4v4 with 90 seconds to go.
And we also see improvement from last week. SH, I believe it was Afer as Warden, not Smoke, holding down that same exact position was something that Okami struggled with a lot. So I'm glad to see the improvement, glad to see that they, now after, you know, dealing with it and losing to it, they know how to clear. And it didn't really waste too much time. I mean, about half of the round, and Wichita Wolves are able to get a pick back, so they're not in a horrible position either. The teams are about even now leading into the last minute. There still might be a Rooney Gates into the site that the attackers have yet to deal with. There's also still holes being opened, such as in the bathroom wall, such as in freezer, that they'll have to worry about if they want to make their way in. Right now, they're taking it slow. They're making sure that they have the necessary info on the site. Prompted sending a drone up white. We'll see that player pallets. Unfortunately, Exile no longer has nades, so even if they burn away that utility, they won't be able to get a free pick with those explosives. He's made his way onto New Balk, but Forest, using one of those cheeky little angles, will get a headshot onto Prompted. Raffi searching for the refrag, but Forest does not expose himself, but as I say that, he will. I guess I will bite my tongue there. Raffi gets the equalizer, but there's only 25 seconds. The time is low. The plant is going down from Raffi. There's no C4 from Wichita Wolves, and the cover seems to be apt as Jay takes damage and is forced to fall back. An air jab will ring out as well, confirming the plant attempt. Exile finishes off Abunai. I misread his name. Raffi coming off the plant gets one of his own, and in fact finds 2 towards the end of that round, and Okami are able to secure the advantageous 4-2 a half.
Wow, that one took quite an abrupt turn, and I gotta say, I think that's one of the rounds where we really saw a pretty big Wichita Wolves mistake there. Now, yeah, you didn't have any plant denial left necessarily, but they had the pings. We saw that there were red pings on the planter. They knew where it was going down. They knew when it was going down. They knew how long it would take. But what they didn't know, and this was the beauty of the Okami attack, is they didn't know where the coverage was. We saw the player over on pallets trying to find, where is this player covering from the white hall? Generally, you're going to want to hold, you know, that angle through bathroom to cover that trash plant, but there wasn't anybody there. That player was actually tucked in that bathroom corner, and because of that, there was no real attempt at all by the Wolves to interrupt the plant. They didn't step in and try to stop it from going down. They instead chose to wait and hope that maybe Okami will expose themselves as they reposition for this post plant. But Okami, they knew better in this case. They sat, they know the positions they were holding were already secured because they weren't getting taken care of by the Wolves. And when the Wichita Wolves did erupt and go for that retake, it was very quickly shut down. Great heads-up play from Okami all around, finishing out the half. 4-2 on Kafe attack. They are sitting very pretty right now.
The attack and the attacking half was pretty solid as well. None of the rounds that Okami won Well, while there were some, impressive plays, it was never really like, oh, Okami are definitely going to lose this round, and then they happen to clutch. There was always a chance, or they were always kind of in the advantage, and even then, their losses were decently close. So Okami must be feeling good about that half. They will start things off on a kitchen defense. And they are playing the Alibi. If you are not familiar with the new update for this game, Alibi was just given a 1.5 on the MX4 Storm. Now, I know, there's a lot of comp players watching this stream, and we always, the competitive community always shouts at UB, hey, stop balancing around gun sights, stop balancing around attachments, yada, yada, yada. But the 1.5 on the MX4 Storm actually goes pretty hard. It feels like a Roni with more bullets. So whether or not that power's prompted up remains to be seen, but they're trying to isolate this Jaeger. Despite Raffi's position being known, he will still get the entry pick onto Abanai, and he gets away almost scot-free, but no, call out, gets one on the Wev, and Exile team kills Raffi. Now, Subarctic will once again, I guess we can call him the equalizer, because that seems to be all he's doing this game, but still what could have been a one-man advantage will instead be equal man count because of that TK.
Yeah, not a mistake you're looking to make, especially so early in a round when it looked like it was going your way, of course. But for now, they will be just fine. A 3 versus 3. They've got pretty good picks onto both Abanai and Forest, a pretty big operators you want to remove from the table as well. And losing your Aruni and your Jaeger, I mean, to be honest, that's exactly who you want to lose. You're not really losing out on any on-site utility that you're going to have for later. You still have, Subarctic and that Nitro Cell, and, that's just about it. We're not bringing out the smoke because, of course, you are bringing out the Alibi instead. So Call Out will hope to find something with this Breaching Hammer, and Melted as well with the soft destruction ability of that Skeleton Key will be bearing down from above. And now it's just a waiting game. Can they spot out Okami and deal with them, or is this once again going to be a last-minute scramble for this first floor bomb site control? We can see Melted unsuccessful with these angles right now. Call Out can't see anything with his gun, hoping a frag grenade can assist that. Subarctic only taking very little damage from that nade, so not quite efficient enough. And actually, that's the last nade from Call Out. So there goes that piece of utility. 6 flashbangs aren't going to do you much. You're going to have to push on into this site.
Exile is still holding VIP as well, so those players pushing Freezer cannot reliably stay safe. And Subarctic catches Call Out just sprinting into prep. There's the plant attempt. It's denied by Exile. He's pushing into Freezer using the revolver now, desperately hunting for this kill. Unfortunately, Melted will kill him. The C4 doesn't find its mark, but it doesn't matter. There's no time. And Okami hold on to round number 7 and yet extend their lead even further as Wichita Wolves fall to the same error as Okami did on the same site. And that was just too much time being spent on the clear, not enough capitalization on the vert play, leading into a rushed site push and Freezer becoming a death box.
I mean, yeah, Harrison, I'll add to that, because the clear, sure, I mean, it wasn't that problematic. They did lose 2 players that they would have really liked to get back, but both teams, the clear itself was fine. Where the problems arose is just staring at the ceiling of the site for, I think, 30 seconds too many. I mean, there comes a point where you have to understand that you just have to respect the opponents on that first floor and think, you know what, there's no way they're going to expose themselves to these vertical angles. Let's throw down a couple of nades. Let's open it up so they at least feel that pressure. But at some point, you need to shift that focus and clear out that first floor. You cannot just sit above and then drop Freezer and hoping that works. There are too many crossfires to deal with on the site itself. Yes, you can start to eliminate those crossfires from above, but we've seen, both of these teams have shown that to us, how hard that actually is. And both these defensive teams are very heads up and up. They're very comfortable on that first floor, and they're not exposing themselves to those angles. So at some point, we might see this site again if Wichita Wolves can pull out some wins on these other objectives. They need to just say, you know what, let's open up the floor, but we have time. Let's take control of the first floor. Let's stop dilly-dallying upstairs and just staring down through the floor. You need to actually get going, searching for those frags, because just given the amount of timing teams are wasting just staring at that ceiling of the site, it's just not going their way.
We also now see the Echo coming out from Okami. There's a significant role shift, as now it's Raffi on the Aruni, Wav is flexed on the Cade, Exile will now play Jaeger. And you'll notice the stark lack of a smoke or mute. And that's because, well, they figure they don't need it. They're not running a drone denial setup, and instead, for reconstruction of the site, they've brought a shotgun with the Echo, and that has become significantly more popular thanks to the Bearing 9 buff, which, you know, I gotta say good on you, Ubisoft, for that one, because I missed using that gun, and I missed Echo Shotgun, and now it's coming back, so hopefully Prompted has done the necessary setup. I remember, again, I hate to keep harking back to this game, but the SH game, when Okami allowed Wings to walk into reading, because there were no floor holes above the door. So I'm hoping that Okami were a little bit more thorough with their setup this time as well. An Echo drone actually gets taken out very early on.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the lack of smoke. You're going to rely even more heavily on those yokai drones, so not exactly what Prompted was looking to do with that so early on, especially because Wichita Wolves, they are knocking on the door of this site, and they are not wasting any time in doing so. An exothermic charge will open up the side of this reading room wall facing in through pillars, and so Raffi is going to do some reconstruction from above and hope to adjust, maybe get that angle onto that very opening. We can see Exile now holding that position. So the Wolves, they're not going for a traditional top-down clear. All of this attacking pressure, or at least most of it, is focused on the horizontal, and now it just comes to actually pushing in this site. Looks like it's going to work to start. Call Out Forest get one each. Abonai and Melted take their turn as well. Exile gets one above, but that simply doesn't matter. His position is now known, holding the floor holes and now being thrown every which way on this top floor. And Wichita Wolves, they've got the bomb down, and they've got a 4 versus 1 advantage. Exile has quite a bit of work to do, and, well, not a lot of time to do it. He'll be scrambling around this second floor, rather, and we'll be looking for any players tucked into these close corners of reading room, but it's a player in laundry, in the close closet, to do him in Forest. A good heads-up play on the Zofia. Wichita Wolves will take an attacking round and get us closer to even, but still 5-3 Okami.
And that was the most dominant win that Wichita Wolves have had yet. They looked indomitable on that attack. Who needs the top floor clear when you have the breach open? And once again, there is not enough of that necessary prep to stop them from just waltzing in. Really big ups to those two entry picks. It was one from Callout. I think I want to say Forest got I didn't quite see who got the other one, but they already opened it with 2 kills. Abonai coming from the back as the entire defense shifts their focus and shooting the Echo was huge. That denies, all of that denial. That denies another player in reading. That's a 3-man advantage for Okami. They only got 1 kill in that entire round, and that was Exile, who was alone holding the top floor, but not, he was holding the top floor, but he wasn't really doing much because he couldn't see anything that was going down on the site. So well played by Wichita Wolves. Actually, I didn't even see, it was Forest who planted as the Zof, interestingly enough. Like you said, Okami still have a 2-round lead, so I doubt they're wiping the sweat off their brow just yet. They can go back to bar, and this bar defense was, sorry, they haven't gone to bar yet. I was thinking about kitchen. This bar defense is not something they have played. Here we go, I can turn it around. And they are bringing quite the utility lineup. Wamai, Jaeger, and Aruni, plus the Goyo's shields facing far forward in Pixel, as well as Freezer using that kind of pseudo-Mira people use.
Yeah, so we're seeing a pretty similar setup to what we saw from Wichita a few rounds ago, especially, I think it was on their first top floor hold. And the one difference on the side of the Wichita Wolves attack is we're not going to see a Flores like we saw from Okami to counter that. Instead, to clear all this utility, it's going to have to be, well, the pretty traditional way. You've got all of those flashbangs, but now you've already lost a player. And a lot of that utility. That is a really good Nitro cell from Exile. Again, that's not something that is too uncommon, but caught Abonai sleeping, and that is a fantastic opening pick for Okami, and that is going to give them a lot more fluidity on this site, because that is one player you desperately need for this utility clear, especially because you got the Jaeger and the Wamai. So much projectile denial. You need so much explosive power. You're going to have to rely on the nades from Callout and, well, all this Zofia utility from Forest as well.
I believe that was the other C4 from Prompted that blew up on the white window, or on the stacks window. Unfortunately, that means Okami don't have any C4 left. They don't have any way to deny the plant, because there is no smoke, there is no echo, no more C4, other than just, well, trying to swing them and shoot them to deny. So You know, if Wichita Wolves are able to get to the execute stage while holding on to this man count, they could potentially be successful, as that's one less thing to worry about. But of course, they have to actually get into the bomb site, which could be a struggle. There's only a minute 15 left, and these shields, for the most part, still persist from Exile. And Okami are, of course, happy to just sit behind them and wait, as unfortunately for Jay, his drone is caught in a jammer that I don't think he knows where it is. Here's another clear, though. That shield in Freezer, the very aggressive one that's meant to watch Piano, will go down thanks to Forest. So a bit of that utility clearing coming in handy for Wichita Wolves. But so many of these Okami players are still towards Cocktail. And as Raffi jumps out and kills Callout, no trade coming through. That's a set of nades off the board, and the man advantage now leading by 2. Jay will try getting this plant down. Once again, Okami don't have a chance to deny it other than just pushing up, but that's exactly what Prompted will do, and he'll get not only the planter, but the cover as well. Make it another Exile with the headshot. A flawless round for Okami, expertly held on. They don't even need utility for anti-plant if they're allowed to just walk up and swing, and that puts them on map and match point.
Wow, that was, I mean, Wichita Wolves, they had one of their strongest rounds in round number 8, and then Okami had their strongest round by far in round number 9. I mean, just answering back immediately, and that was really great to see. Okami just locked down that site. There really isn't a ton you can say about that defense other than it was perfect. I mean, they didn't do anything crazy. They had their heavy utility set up on the site, the Aruni gates, the Jaeger, the Wamai, you had the Goyo shields, you had everything just set up, waiting for Wichita Wolves to make their move, and you struck first. A really good C4, but from that point forward, it was a game, a round of Wichita Wolves beating themselves. They really didn't do much else in that round, and it's not something we generally say about this team that is, well, the champions of Stage 1 and one of the strongest teams we usually get to see play here, especially on a map like Kafe that generally lends itself to traditional utility clears, pretty default stuff. The Wolves got stuck and just didn't do anything else for the remainder of that round. We saw how they put players on a couple of different windows. You had somebody pressuring from Cigar. You even had Jay trying to run in and get the plant down. But every single move, it felt, from the loss of Abunai forward, felt like a desperation play, and they had already lost the round, and they were just hoping to bring it back, crossing their fingers and just saying, let's just hope Okami peek into us and throw away the round. They didn't do that. Okami won the round very beautifully. A flawless round takes them to match point, and honestly, Crow, I don't know if Wichita Wolves have it in them to pull this one back. Your prediction right now is, I gotta say, looking quite good.
Perhaps. I don't want to jinx it, though. So, you know, I will say Wichita Wolves still have a chance. If they can repeat their attacking success like we saw on Reading, then, of course, you know, we could be in for overtime. But they'll have to attack Kitchen. Another round that Okami were decently successful on. They still had 2 players alive because, well, Wichita Wolves, they went 2 for 2 on the roam clear. Okami even gifted them a kill with a TK. But a lack of good vertical play and just dropping into Freezer with no VIP clear means that Wichita Wolves were stuck between a rock and a hard place. Raffi will already fall off the top floor, as does Wav, now dedicating themselves here in the middle by reading and dining. And I mean, it's only been a minute, so the clear has been rather quick from Wichita Wolves. They are making good time. But as Raffi slowly creeps over towards the red stairs, he might be isolating himself from any kind of fallback, as there's a player watching those stairs intently. And Raffi's just going to continue to sit here. He'll walk on by. Actually, he'll start to walk up. No, he'll think better of it as he hears the pre-fire. Smart decision from Raffi. He'll cross through the pre-fire and only take 50 HP and still head back to the site. So this has now become a full 5-man on-site hold for Okami.
I gotta say, that was textbook from Raffi. Getting away alive after wasting 90 seconds all by himself? Are you kidding me? That is really, really good. Because Okami didn't commit pretty much any resources to this second floor, yet it was as effective a roam as Wichita Wolves were doing. And that in that case, they had players in the top floor, they had mute jammers, Mozzie pests, reinforcements, the like. In this case, it is Okami bunkering down on this first floor, and now the Wichita Wolves will really have their work cut out for them here. Jay is hoping to maybe build some pressure here from this big bakery side, but a nice C4 from Subarctic will force him back just a bit longer, but he won't take much damage from that. You also have your Echo in play here. Prompted will be playing close on this door, but a push from Small Bakery will be very effective. Abunai gets one, and Prompted cannot whip the shotgun out in time. Callout gets the second. Forrest and Abunai get two between them, and leaving Wav alone against 5. Man, the Wichita Wolves have recovered this round beautifully. Melted, dropping down the hatch and finishing things out as the buck to clean it up for the Wichita Wolves. What a turn of events. They will take the round and get us closer to a possible OT.
I like the play from Wichita Wolves. They do what a lot of teams don't when there's an Echo on the board, and that was push bake. So not only do they do the full top-down clear, which is, you know, the most efficient way, or, well, not the most efficient, but the most surefire way of doing a bakery direct. So they do the top-down clear, assure there's no roamers, get the utility off the wall, blah, blah, blah. And they slowly start to move down and suffocate. I'm surprised the Ash was able to get into Small Bake uncontested, whether or not someone maybe just wasn't watching the angle. The Ash got in. There's simultaneous push from Small Bake and from Big Bake Door. Subarctic gets caught with his pants down. He dies, and Prompted is left to hold prep all alone, and he just gets pre-fired. So that's 2 important players off the board. Because normally when you have an Echo, that's where he plays. The Wichita Wolves are like, hey, we just wasted 90 seconds on this roam clear. We cannot fight against this Echo, so why not just challenge him directly? And from there, Okami just... I don't know if they just didn't expect Bakery to be pushed. Either way, they completely fell apart. And they're going to try Kitchen again. This time switching up the hold. No Echo. Back to just the standard smoke. And a little bit more utility dedicated to that upstairs roam. They've got mute jammers now to assist them, I believe. Unless they... I mean, hey... Maybe they're not going to roam? Oh, no, my Wav is going back up. I saw all 5 men like still setting up site, and I was like, ah.
But what's interesting for the Wolves here, I mean, a couple of these rounds have been really confusing. Not because they've, you know, been unusual in the way they've actually gone out in the execute phase, but really in how these teams are starting out the round and then finishing it, right? I mean, in that last one, it was the Wolves who started out, it felt like rather weak, a pretty slow roam clear that didn't really get them much, and eventually getting down to the site, but far longer than Okami ever took, but still making it happen in the end, which was really great to see. So it's all about what Rafi's going to be able to do here again. This time he'll be assisted by Wav, who's holding down this top floor as well, and right now, I mean, this is going quite well. They've taken care of a couple of drones here, and they've delayed at least the immediate onslaught from the Wolves. But now Abunai will begin that pressure. A drone at his feet to assist, and Rafi and Wav will be forced to fall back. So step 1, top floor has been cleared. Wav trying to get away, but Forrest denies it. Really heads up play to cut off that rotation. Now Abunai, next player to join on that clear, but job has been completed and in the most efficient time we've seen so far today.
Very well conducted roam clear by the Wolves, and it nets them that kill. Now, Wav's utility is already down, so it's not the biggest thing in the world for the defense, but a kill is a kill. We have yet to see, though, where Wichita Wolves are going to end up executing, whether it's going to be Freezer or if it's Bakery. There's a little bit more dedicated to the Bakery hold as Exile is holding behind the counter, supplemented by maybe a shield. I'm not quite sure. I didn't see it, but he definitely does have Wamai discs as well to help increase his survivability. But with the hatch open and where Wichita Wolves are currently set up, it looks like it's going to be another Freezer drop down. But we've seen time and time again from both teams that what really does this push in is the remaining VIP presence that's never dealt with. So if Wichita Wolves don't flush Prompted out, or even maybe Rafi, who looks to even stay supporting his smoke, Freezer could once again, for like the 4th time this game, become a death trap for the attack.
Looks like Okami are putting some resources into this Bakery side hold as well. Wary that The Wolves could at any point push that, but no. Instead, they're going to focus on the freezer drop, and Abunai is actually in the middle of the site. Jay soon to follow, and Prophet can't do anything about it. Players just sprinted on through the toxic phase, but thankfully, Subarctic is ready to take the head of Jay. Sees the next one, but can't quite get the shot. Instead, it's Exile onto Callout, melted with a good trade. Abunai then steps up and takes care of Subarctic, leaving Raffi and Exile to fend for themselves up above. Exile tempting a drop in freezer, can't do anything to stop the plant.
Oh,
But
Raffi!
Raffi does the job perfectly. A 2v2. Now it's up to Melted to get this plant down. Can he hide from the vertical pressure above? Can Forest cover?
Wow.
No, he can't. The plant's not going to go down. And that's going to be the round. Okami not only taking it, but taking the map out of the Wichita Wolves' hands. They will win it 7-4.